Call the meeting to order and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item this evening is to recognize Police Detective Kimberly Nago and Kayline Mack for being honored by the Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele for their assistance in apprehending suspects in a case. Bill?
I won't talk much, but I think we all know Detective Nago and K9 Mack, which must be laying down back there since he's, but they were just recently honored by our District Attorney Kevin Steele on a special set of skills that they have, and I will turn it over to the Chief. That is the shortest. I didn't want to steal everything, so.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk much in the beginning here either. So early 2024, Norristown PD, along with the County Detective Bureau, asked for some help from Detective Nago and Mack. They had a homicide case, and they were looking for a cell phone that they believed was instrumental in the commission of the crime, and they very much needed the information that was on the cell phone. That's about as eloquent as I can put it, but Detective Nago can tell you all the particulars of all the work they put in, and then when she's done, if I could just offer a couple comments afterwards. So, Detective Nago, you're on the hot seat here.
Hello everyone, as you know, I'm Detective Kim Nago, and this is K9 Mack. In the early morning in January of 2024, I was contacted by a Montgomery County detective who asked if Mack was available to search a large area for a cell phone that was taken from William Carter, who was a homicide victim in Norristown. They said the search area was big, there was already like a foot of snow on the ground, but I was like, you know what, we'll give it a try. I got out there and we searched about 10 city blocks in a foot and a half of snow for hours. That first day we didn't recover the phone. The county detectives pinged the victim's cell phone and we got a better area of where the phone could be. We went back a second day and Mack found it within 20 minutes and it wasn't in the original search area that we were searching. So Mack finding that phone ensured that the defendants in this case were convicted of second-degree murder because they, they did a robbery during the commission of a homicide. So Mack finding that phone also gave them insight into the victim's life and who he's associated with, and helped track down who the defendants were in this case.
So tonight we just wanted to, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for Mack and all that Mack does. You really do, and it's a team effort. It's not a Mack, it's a team effort. And you really do have a very specialized set of skills. We see you train here on the complex, and it's amazing how small of an item, of electronic item that he can find. It's amazing. So we wanted to just really show our appreciation to you and to Mack, and We have mutual aid agreements with almost all the departments, but Mac is even more special than just, I mean, he's a federal, and he can be called out anywhere in this area, I believe, in eastern Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So it's not just Montgomery County. So we're fortunate to have him and Detective Nago and the great work that they both do. But we also wanted to say great job and job well done.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Chief,
Detective, you can hang out just afterwards. We're going to do another recognition, and then we're going to do some photos.
Okay. Thank you again. You said you wanted
did you forget?
I wasn't sure if that was Mr. Walker's kind way of saying, don't say anything. You did touch on one of the things that I wanted to point out, and that is Mac gets a lot, if not all of the fanfare in this situation and a lot of others. But what I'm afraid sometimes goes unnoticed is the amount of work that Kim puts into working with the dog. I mean, Mac did not come from the agency we got him from and just, was as good as he is. It's a reflection of how much she works. As you all know, any of us with pets at home, you pour the food in the bowl and you walk away and everything's great. This dog has to be trained every time he eats, and I only get to see 1/3 of it at work. There's 2/3 of the time when she's home and quote unquote off the clock, which she's realizing doesn't exist, where again, just something as simple as feeding the dog is a whole undertaking. So, my job, what you ask me to do is try to find what's the best return on investment for moves that we make to keep this township and the police department moving forward. He was a zero investment. We got him from a grant from Asplund Foundation and Representative Serrato's office and OUR, the foundation we got the dog from. And the amount of return is just, it's crazy. I just hope that she doesn't get tired of doing this because I don't think there's anybody else that wants to do it. There are other agencies in the state who have looked, even as close as our district attorney's office, who looked into getting a dog like this after seeing what Mac and Kim can do. And then after they talk with Kim, and this is no exaggeration, they find out all the work that's involved. And the district attorney's office staff has said, that sounds like a little bit too much. So thankfully, she's willing to do it. Everybody, to include our community, benefits from it. So I just think it's important. Again, this isn't the first time you guys have heard about Mac, but the amount of work that goes into it is just insane. I wouldn't want to do it. So I appreciate you recognizing the team, the K9 team, for all their hard work. Thanks.
Chief, when you first told us about Mac coming to the township, what was that, 2 years ago at this point? It has really turned out as expected. So thank you for all the work that you put in. The dog, Chief, thank you for pursuing it to get him here. So
They made it easy once I saw what they could do. Yeah, it's an easy decision. I don't get too many of those, but I'll take them when I can. Thank you.
Next item is to recognize the Waterside Horsham Foundation's first annual Golf Open, benefiting our police department and Horsham Fire Company.
About 12 months ago, we had a new resident. Many of you are familiar with the Regency at Waterside, which is the former Limecoat Golf Club. And we had a new resident move into town, into the Regency, Keith Sanford, and he came, stopped in one day in the building, and I just happened to be passing through the lobby, and he said, "Hey, I have an idea." Great. And he said, we want to do a golf tournament. We want to do a fundraiser, and we're talking about for your police department and the fire company. What do you think? I said, go talk to the chief. But very quickly, They are an amazing group. Keith and Joe behind them, and Dominic and Jan and Teresa. And they put this group together real quick, and they got themselves established. They got themselves a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, a foundation set up, and they very quickly put their first annual golf open, together at Sandy Run, and it was simply amazing. We met starting, I guess, every other month, basically, in the beginning. There was a small committee, all of these people, plus myself, Chief Fida, Chief Greenberg, Larry Burns. We started meeting, and it was pretty amazing what they did. These new residents, well, Joe is not new, but new location. But these new residents, what they did in 12 months was just amazing. I know some of you, Ms. Chunky and Ms. Slaff, attended their evening awards ceremony at the Golf Open. But it was what they put together, what they raised was simply amazing. And I'm also forgetting the photographer in the back that's also part of their team from the Regency, Gene. We were pleasantly surprised and delighted of their great work and their fundraising for our police department and fire company. And I believe it was $42,000 for their first annual. They went to, I think, every business and company in Horsham Township, not only raising the money, but also their baskets and giveaways was simply amazing. The amount of time and effort and hours, and they enjoyed it. I think they really did enjoy. I don't know if Jan enjoyed the house being taken over by the all the gift baskets and stuff, but they really put a lot of effort and hours in, and I was taken back by it all. We wanted to, and Township Council wanted to say thank you to you, and thank you for all your hours and all the effort that you put in, and giving back to the community and our police department and fire company. And we wanted to take just the time at a public meeting to say thank you. I don't know if you want to, the chief's going to say
I honestly think you said it best here, but folks, you want to come up? Come on, you can't sit in the... Much like Mr. Walker said, first time I met with Keith, they had this idea of a golf outing. We've run golf outings before. The police union has done that. It's no easy undertaking. I have no idea, how much work was involved. And I'll be honest, and you've heard me tell this story a few times, I was a little, okay, great idea, but is the implementation going to be there? I think by meeting number 2, I realized that I was out of my league with Keith. His idea of retirement and mine are very different. It was clear as getting to know him that he's a very accomplished businessman, and if there's anything, if you ran a business like you ran this golf outing, I can understand why you were so successful. And no end game, just wanted to help out the first responders in town, and that's one of the things for the 25 years I've been here. We've always been fortunate that we've had such support from our community. So I want to thank you all, because I'm not sure if everybody on the board really knew what you were getting yourselves into. You knew, because you've been married to this guy. But I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for all your work. And I want to thank you for your friendship, Keith. I made a new buddy out of this, too. They've just been phenomenal. I don't know how you're going to top yourselves next year, but knowing you, you'll find a way. So thank you.
We're gonna beat it.
Before anybody sits down, we have a certificate we'd like to give you. I'd like to read it. In recognition and sincere appreciation to the Waterside Horsham Foundation for generously hosting the first annual fundraising golf tournament in support of our police department and fire company. Your dedication to giving back and supporting those who serve is truly commendable. We are proud to have you as part of our community and grateful for the positive impact that you have made.
Or does he want to say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the team of people we work with. William and Scott and Lee Greenberg and Larry Burns worked very hard with us to help put this golf outing together. It started as an idea. I can remember somebody telling me the first day, I'd be happy if I made $100 the first year. And we made a little bit more than that and everything. So, but the support in the community too, we had about 15 to 20 volunteers behind us, besides my team working on it, that made this a success. And the outing next year is June 1st. You can put it on your calendars. And we're going to actually, our goal is to beat the $42,100 we received this year. And we really look forward to helping the community. And besides that, I made some great friends with Scott, Larry, and Lee. And we've known each other for a little while. As my daughter lived right down the street from you for a couple of years and everything. But it's our honor and to work with you and to help the township and the police and fire. Thank you.
Just wanted to share one thing I don't think was mentioned for those in the crowd. If you're marking your calendar for June 1st, sign up early. It was sold out this year, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was sold out. They had excellent baskets. I got to head for a date night to the Phillies on Saturday. It was one of the winners. That was really exciting. Thank you so much for putting that together.
Hatters hold 'em.
It's only worth what we paid for.
Before you sit down, do not sit down. We're going to get your photos. So if you want to come around to this stone behind me, we're going to get a photo.
Over here behind Helen, and then Sam, kind of get in between Bill and Scott. There we go.
All right, our next topic is opportunity for questions and comments from the public. Anybody with any questions or comments tonight? Your name for the record.
My name is Mark Zlotnick. I live at 640 Searle Drive in Hapro. So the Horsham Township website has a link that says post a concern, and I think it's a good thing because I've used it over the years, and it just allows the community to sort of be the eyes and the ears for the township. I think it's great, report safety issues and whatnot. So most recently, about 3 weeks ago, I did post a concern about a tree that I've witnessed leaning more and more each year. It was on Moreland Road, located between the two schools, Maple Maple Avenue with Hollowell, and I guess it would be Meeting House for the Keith Valley School. So there's a lot of children that walk this path and cars driving during the school hours. So it became a greater concern for me as I saw it was ready to fall. So I reported it, and unfortunately it did fall during the storm last week, and I know that the affected neighborhood had lost power for at least 2 days. So over the years when I've posted these concerns, I've never recalled getting a reply from the township. So I never knew if the message was sent to the right department or what the response was. I sort of just assumed that it had reached. So even in this case, I don't know if anybody had read it or not. So I guess a request would be that there would be a standard procedure where there would be some kind of a feedback, some kind of acknowledgement that this concern was read. And then secondly, I don't know what the ordinance is for a tree that's just threatening to property and lives. I know that we can be cited for tall grass, loud noises, those kinds of things. But here's a tree that 60-foot high, evergreen, massive tree, guaranteed to do damage, and unfortunately it took place before it was addressed. So I don't know if anybody can answer the ordinance question. Should there be an ordinance, or is there one?
To go back to the report of concern, that is, you should get a reply. And that gets, that gets put out, your report, the one that you just described, probably most likely went to our code enforcement department. So I will remind all the departments to continue and make sure that they reply to any concerns that they receive. So you should, that number one, you should have gotten a reply.
Yeah, I would have expected it because, it does ask for all my contact information. There's really no reason I shouldn't have given
Number
something.
two, municipalities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have no legal jurisdiction or enforcement on trees. The courts have been clear on that. The General Assembly has passed no state law for municipalities to enforce anything regarding trees. So when we do get a notice, normally what our practice is we do reach out to the property owner and try to encourage them, if we believe, once we look at it, if we believe it's a hazard, to try to get them to take down the tree. We have no legal enforcement that we can do upon them to make them do it. And the courts have been clear. Usually it's a civil matter. Trees don't involve municipalities because we can't be involved. So they're usually a civil matter in district courts when someone believes a tree is unsafe, and usually it's a neighbor thing. And a judge then rules if a tree has to come down or be maintained. But we have no legal jurisdiction over trees.
Okay, so this tree was right on the edge of their property, leaning towards the street.
We know the tree.
Okay, you're familiar with it?
Yes, and many and others in the township.
Okay, so I posted it on the local meeting house network that we have, the neighborhood network, right? So it solicited a good number of responses, and I found some of them quite interesting. So one of them said, oh, you should report it to PICO, which I did, again, 2 to 3 weeks ago. And their response was, well, we'll send somebody out in 5 days just to evaluate, make an assessment of the risks, right? But someone else said that, well, the property owners might just want it to fall because if it falls in the street, it's no longer their problem. And so if they left it that way for financial reasons, right? I mean, really? That's acceptable?
We have no.
Okay, so if they were cited, if they were, somebody knocked on the door and said, hey, we're pointing out to you the risks of this tree, does that give them increased liability for the damage?
That's sort of our encouragement. Usually we reach out to them. Sometimes there was a tree on another road in Horsham that we wrote letters to the property owners for 4 years. Before they took it down. And that's sort of our encouragement. I believe some of the language on our letters saying this could be a liability on you. But again, all we can do is encourage them to take it down and try to have them understand that it could be a liability for them. I don't know if PICO's tree company removed that tree totally. Our public works policy with our public works department is they have to get the street open if there's no wires involved. And we put the tree back onto the property owner's yard. We do not dispose of the tree. We will come clean up the tree off the street, off the road, and put the tree back onto the property owners because it's their tree and it's their responsibility to dispose of. It's our responsibility to open the road.
Right. Yeah, it would have been good if at least the top of it was cut off so that when it fell, not if, but when, it wouldn't have reached the wires. And maybe even take some of the load off of it so it wouldn't have fallen during that storm. But yeah, I just saw it as being an unfortunate tragedy that was really avoidable, but apparently there's nothing that legally...
We knew the tree.
Okay, well, that was it. Thank you.
This is always going to be a good prerequisite. If something does happen, if it falls onto the neighboring property, it's going to be, well, did this come out of nowhere, or was this something this person knew about for months, years,
You can't miss
so
it.
on and
Yeah,
so
they
forth?
had to have known this.
But again, it's not for the township, it's for neighbor versus neighbor civilly, so, again. not much
Okay,
the township
but it
can do
wasn't
about it.
threatening any neighbor property. That's the thing. It was leaning right into the street. So, anyway, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, anybody else? And with that said, we'll move on to our public hearing. Next, we have a public hearing regarding a request involving the issuance by the North Penn Health Hospital System and Education Authority and its tax-exempt obligations to provide funds together with other available funds, which will be used to finance all or a portion of the Quaker School project at Horsham.
So, I read the opening statement.
Council will now call to order a hearing on a resolution which was advertised for hearing and consideration this evening. The resolution involves a request by the Quaker School at Horsham for the Horsham Township Council to approve the issuance of a tax-exempt bond by the North Penn Health, Hospital, and Education Authority in the amount of $4,800,000, which will be used to finance improvements to the Quaker School. The Internal Revenue Code requires a public hearing by and approval from each of the governmental unit having jurisdiction over the area in which the facility to be provided the proceeds is located, which in this case is only Horsham Township. This hearing is your chance to let council know what you think about the resolution. Mr. Walker will provide more detail on the resolution, and then you'll have a chance to make comments. Colleen Deegan, bond counsel for the Quaker School at Horsham, is here tonight to provide any additional information and to answer any questions council may have.
Okay, just to give you some background, and I apologize, both of our pointers are not working this evening. Just to give you some history of the Quaker School, the Quaker School got land development approval back in 2005. The building, you can see the light shaded grade building, existing school building, that was phase one. Their land development approval back in 2005 was for 3 phases. The small hash marked building addition that you see at towards the bottom is phase 2. They did that phase in 2020, and both, by the way, both buildings, phase 1 and phase 2, went through this same financing through the North Penn Health, Hospital, and Education Authority. So this is actually their 4th time, the Quaker School's 4th time using this authority for their financing their projects. So their final, phase 3, is the larger hash mark up top. This is some renderings of what it will look like. Again, it's off to your right of what it towards what we used to call the Scouts Cabin across from the Keith Valley Middle School. And this will allow them more classroom space to take their program up to 12th grade. I believe it's 9th through 12th. This phase will, right now they're up to 8th grade, and this will allow them to be able to accept children up into 12th grade. But these are just some renderings of what the building will look like. This is if you were on Meeting House Road. Right now, that point off to the left is the end of the building that you see. This would be on the phase 3 addition. This would be the rear. That would be the side looking from Meeting House Park. So that's just a little history of, as I said, their land development approval and their phasing of their land development approval. And as I said, they went council in 2005, 2011, and 2020. All those years approved this financing through this authority for their projects, and they once again are going through the authority to fund their final phase, phase 3. By the way, they will be adding parking to this, which was not approved in the plan in 2005. So they will be in front of you at some point to do an amended final plan for the parking, the additional parking. If you ever drive by there in the mornings and during the daytime, they are out of parking. So they are looking to add parking to this site, and so they'll be back in front of you at some point for an amended final plan.
Do we have any idea where that parking is planned to be located, or we won't know until the amendment?
Yeah, we won't know until they give us the amended plan.
Okay, thank you.
Well, my question is this.
We don't have anything to do with this funding with regard to them getting it, us managing it.
All we're doing is following one of the regulations that says we have to hold this hearing to acknowledge what they want the funding for.
Yes, and I know Colleen's going to be next.
Good evening, Council. As you mentioned, my name is Colleen Degnan, and I'm from Fox Rothschild. We represent the Quaker School at Horsham with respect to the bond financing. But yes, you're correct. There is no other financial burden or anything else on the municipality. The only reason that we need this public hearing is because the Quaker School at Horsham is a nonprofit. So in order for them to issue tax-exempt bonds, they need to go through a conduit issuer authority, which would be the North Penn Health, Hospital, and Educational Authority. And from there, the tax-exempt financing can be approved by you guys if you so choose, due to the fact that you are the host municipality for the project. So that's why we are coming to you. It is in the resolution, if you just turn, where it's on in paragraph 5, that it does not constitute any zoning, land use development, or other approvals are needed. And then also in paragraph 4, we do clarify that there is no, it's not meant to incur any liability on behalf of the municipality with respect to this project. So, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Have anything? All right, then I guess we can close the hearing and move on to vote on it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Next, we need to consider a resolution approving the issuance of a bond by North Penn Health, Hospital, and Education Authority to providing funding for the Quaker School at Horsham project.
Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution as proposed, approving the issuance of a bond by North Penn Health, Hospital, and Education Authority to provide funding for the Quaker School at Horsham.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Glemser, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Slaff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Wade, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Chunky, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we have to pay the bills. Do we have a motion to approve the list of checks?
I move to approve the list of checks and all funds in the amount of $492,473.24, and further move to authorize payment of same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote. No, it's not. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, next one's a roll call vote. We need to consider the following land division, or subdivision and land development plans. Chapman Auto Group. Are we ready for that?
Yep, that has been approved by the recommended approval from the Planning Commission. It has been reviewed by you. They agreed to all the conditions that you requested. We do have their agreement to accept conditions this evening, so the resolution's in your packet for your consideration.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution as proposed, granting preliminary final approval to the Chapman Auto Group, 1020 Easton Road, Land Development Plan 25-07-D.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Glemser, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Slaff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Wade, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Chunky, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next, we need to review our zoning hearing board applications. The first is Steve and Jamie Davis, 320 Settlers Court. It's HTZHB 25-11.
This is a residential application in our R2 Chestnut Creek development. As you know, a corner property in our zoning code has 2 front yards, and you're only allowed a 4-foot fence in the front yard. They do have an existing 4-foot fence. they have a dog that jumps over the 4-foot fence. And gets out into the neighborhood. Luckily, it's a nice dog. But they like to keep the dog in the backyard, so they're requesting this section here to be 6 foot. And that's what, they're also going to put another 6-foot addition back here. This is where they need the zoning relief because their side yard is considered a front yard by our zoning code. So it'll be a aluminum metal fence. It won't be a privacy fence. That was in their application. So the staff recommendation would be neutral.
As a pet owner with a dog that also jumps the fence, I can empathize.
Are there any site limitations or anything on the street as a result of the fence?
No, there's not.
Is everybody good with this then?
Do we want to do
All right.
neutral as long as that's the type of fence installed, or just neutral?
Yeah, as described in the application.
All right, the next would be, and I apologize if I don't pronounce this correctly, Sundar Manoharan and Divya Madsen, 193 Easton Road. That's HTZHB 25-12.
This is a zoning hearing board application. This property here is along Easton Road, is next to Father and Son Exterminators, which after them is McDonald's. This used to be the Big Chief Brewery that went out of business. The property, they were a tenant, they weren't the owners. So the property owner has put in an application for a spa for the building. The spa would take the entire building. They are short parking from our parking requirements, and that is why the variance is needed. Is for it's only not a lot. It's 2 spaces that they're short. That's why they submitted to the zoning hearing board to allow the spa to open with the 18 rather than 20 required parking spots.
Anybody have any questions? What's the staff recommendation on this?
It is a permitted use in this zoning district, a spa. The staff recommendation would be neutral with conditions. As council knows, we have a massage establishment ordinance in Horsham. So yes, they have to follow that by anyway, but it's good to just give it more teeth as a condition, and that they are fully aware that if they do any of that activity, they must follow by our massage establishment ordinance. We would also recommend that there is no neon signs or LED lights, perimeter window lights. If they want to put like a limit it to an open sign, a neon open sign. But what we don't want is in each of the windows, like nails, waxing, facials. We've been working very hard, and as you know, we've been spending a lot of money on this corridor of 611, and there's a vision that the township has for this corridor of 611, and one of it is beautification. One of it is we wanted things to look nice. All those neon LED lights in the windows. The third and final recommendation that we would have as a condition is, none of those flags and banners and spinner things that they put out front that, to attract attention. I understand why they do it, but we've been very fortunate that we've restricted those things along 611 the best we have been able to, and it really makes us look different than other communities. So those would be the 3 conditions that the staff would recommend as conditions.
Well, I know some of the signage conditions in other municipalities also have to do with traffic and accident prevention, things like that as well. My only question looking at this map, are there fewer spaces than there were when it was operating as Big Chief? Were the requirements different for that use, for the number of spaces? Or is it the same? It looks like the same parking lot, but I don't know if...
I don't know. I didn't do that research
Got it. Okay.
prior, but this is what they submitted with their application.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any more questions?
If this was to be turned into a spa of sorts, any modifications to the interior would need to come back through? No.
Not to council, that is a
So like
build-
put to codes or
Yes,
otherwise,
yep,
right?
yep. All renovations, yep, all
Very
renovations.
house-like
Yes.
interior. I was just kind of trying to visualize how that would then be broken up to accommodate the proposed use. But anyway, neither here nor there in terms of the parking question.
Are we good with the neutral with the condition? Dave, you got that?
Understood, yes. Yep, I can pull from your ordinance and send you that language.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. Then next, we want to move on and review the DeLuca Horsham LP 1129 and 1131 County Line Road subdivision.
And just before we move on, I know some neighbors here, but behind this 193 Easton. So Bill Carr. So you want to be? I would advise you to attend the zoning hearing board meeting because they're the ones that make the decision, and the applicant, their attorney, would be there. A lot more presentation than what you saw here tonight in the council's recommendation to the zoning hearing board, and I believe that's July 8th. It's the second Tuesday of July here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't know what it was at all, so that's why we're here tonight.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And the team from DeLuca Homes is here, and I'll
Good evening.
turn it over to Mr. McBride.
Close.
Oh, sorry.
May you rest in peace. I'm Ed Murphy.
Sorry. Oh, here you go. And sorry about that.
So I'm Ed Murphy, and with me is Justin Giannotti, who is the project engineer. And as Chairman indicated, this particular project was conceived over a year ago when there was a discussion at the staff and administration level about the potential to modify the underlying R1 zoning district regulations to create a conservation option within that district. Ultimately, council elected last November to adopt such a modification to allow that conservation option. And this plan that has laid out 22 single-family home building lots on the 42 acres follows that conservation option and the specific regulations that are embodied in that November 2024 ordinance amendment. We've followed, since the zoning amendment, we have submitted the fully engineered subdivision plans and gone through the traditional reviews required by various boards and commissions, both in and out of the township. And most recently, we met with your planning commission and received a favorable recommendation to move forward, and that's why we're here tonight. In terms of the most recent Gilmore letter, we have no issues with the letter. What we do have is a list of waivers that we reviewed each individually with your planning commission when we last met with them. And Justin can walk us all through those waivers, but the bulk of them deal with landscaping and your ordinance requirement for tree replacement and the like. I would preview that conversation by simply indicating we've met multiple times with staff, with Gilmore's landscape architect, and I think as of today, the way I think we have all agreed to address that issue is to work collaboratively with your administration and consultants to maximize on-site the number of trees that can be planted and which would survive. I mean, none of us think it's a good idea to plant trees if they're not going to survive. So that choice will be the township staff to determine how many of those trees we can accommodate on site. We've then talked to the staff and administration about taking the remaining trees, creating a fund for that, and applying that fund to a project. And one that has been prominently mentioned is to fund our portion of the traffic signal that is presently being warranted by PennDOT on County Line Road. So we understand that those details still need to be worked out at the staff and administration level, but conceptually, that's how we have collectively talked about handling that issue. So aside from the landscaping as a package, that those waivers which we can highlight, I think Justin can review with you the other individual waivers and explain the support or justification for them. And I can tell you that your planning commission did endorse those waivers, as Justin will go through with them. So, Justin, if you want to walk us, if
Can I
there's
ask
any
a
other
quick question first?
Go ahead.
So just to clarify, make sure I'm understanding appropriately, and Eric, so what they're saying is instead of in lieu of, tree replacement, donating that back to the township, we're just using those funds rather than doing tree replacement at the township level, taking those same funds and allocating it to helping with the street light that will be required?
I might actually kick that to Bill to respond to.
Yeah, I was about to ask him that.
Not a
Okay.
street light, but
Clarify that, because that's
that's a
different than what we normally do.
That's a possibility. I would suggest for this evening that there's three things that can happen for any trees that can't fit on the property, on the plan, is they give us the trees, and we use the trees in our park system and open space. That's one option. The second option is they do a project with the money that is part of for the trees, or they give us the money in lieu of the trees, in lieu of a project. They just give us the money to put into our park fund. So those are the three options that can be worked out at a later date once they get their land development agreements and all that paperwork started. After approval, we can decide, what one of those three things you would like to do.
We can leave that open-ended tonight with no bearing on what we do tonight.
And then as they move forward, I will keep council updated, and then you can decide. It wouldn't be at a public meeting because you're going to give, not tonight, you'll give it approval, but then with those three choices, but then you'll give me direction when we get to that point of which one you would like.
And that's just agreed on paper tonight that we'll continue to discuss?
Yeah.
Till we meet a mutually agreed upon resolution?
It's those three options. So if the replacement trees are worth, and Gilmore will figure out if it's $150,000, I'm just throwing that number out, whether they give us the trees, whether they commit $150,000 towards a project, or just give us $150,000.
Okay, thank you.
The next thing I need to clarify is you made a comment that you were generally okay with the Gilmore letter and you had some waivers. Does that mean that you will comply with the items in the Gilmore letter and all we have left is the waivers?
Correct.
Okay.
That's accurate.
All right, then why don't we start with the first one?
And everyone in your package, you should have their dynamic engineering waiver dated June 3rd.
Right.
That's the most updated.
That's the most up to date? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, and that is the letter that we reviewed with the planning commission, and they recommended all the waivers at their last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So starting with number one,
Well, before you do that, let's make sure everybody's oriented the plan itself.
I got all three of your renderings. You can just tell me what.
Mr. Wall, can you switch to the middle one there, that site plan rendering? It's probably the cleanest. So this, the area that you see colored is the 41-acre property that is the subject parcel here. You'll see that through many iterations and due to pretty extensive topography and natural resources on this property, the layout that we came up with is just a single cul-de-sac bulb up at the top, away from what is, the riparian corridor down here. This is a tributary to Little Neshaminy Creek that pretty much follows the property line, but not perfectly. but associated with that is wetlands and riparian areas and protected woodlands that we were preserving as part of this, and it's going to be preserved within a open space area along the perimeter of the site, and of course at the top as well too. But there is 22 homes along the cul-de-sac bulb. A number of the waivers are associated with this just being a cul-de-sac without another point of access. Just to give the background with that now, we did work it out with the township engineer and especially your fire marshal to come to this layout. One of the concessions was, and it's hard to see on this plan, this is a boulevard style entrance, so there's going to be a center median that is going to allow there to be 2 dedicated lanes at the entrance. So in the event that emergency vehicles need to close down 1 lane of access, the road's wide enough that they can do so, and people can still come in and out of the site. But that was a concession, and we do have fire marshal approval with that based on this layout. And the length of the cul-de-sac bulb is going to come up too. It's larger than your ordinance permits, but everything else has been designed in accordance with the ordinance standards. But again,
Based on that design, the fire marshal was okay with the length?
yes, he did. Yeah, so we wanted to make sure it was obviously wide enough. We have 5 hydrants spaced along the entire length of that drive too, so it allows them to have hookups along that length, so they don't need 2 points of access.
And the radius in the cul-de-sac is wider.
Yes, so that does meet. We did run a truck turning for the largest apparatus. It does maneuver the bulb without an issue, so he is satisfied with this layout as it stands. But stormwater management, you'll see that there's 3 basins here, here, and here. This is attention. These are known as MRC basins, managed release concept basins. And then you'll see here along the page, it looks like sidewalk, but it's not. And this was at a request of Gilmore and Associates and your township code to provide basin access. So the basins are actually located off the back of the lots at a topography makes it challenging. So we do have concrete paved access ways to those basins that are not on private property. They don't have easements. They're actually within the open space, which is going to be owned and maintained by the HOA, likewise with the road. But that was a big part of our redesign to maintain those basins. We have full dedicated access. But I think with that, unless anyone has other general questions on the layout, I can start walking through one by one if that works. Number 1, and I'll just go in numbers so I don't have to read all the saldo sections for you. This is just to permit preliminary as final as one application. Now, our plans are always designed to final plan standards, and we did have several reviews already with Gilmore and Associates, so we're just asking this to be considered as a preliminary as final plan.
We're good with that, Bill?
Number 2 and number 3 pertain to the length of the cul-de-sac bulb. Number 2 pertains to the maximum length of a block as a minimum and a maximum length of 1,200 feet. The next one pertains to the maximum length of a cul-de-sac bulb specifically. So again, based on the design criteria that we're meeting with this road and the meetings and approval we have with the township fire marshal, we're asking for these 2 waivers, which are coincide with that request.
And how long is the street?
It's 1,900 linear feet, 1,965 linear feet.
Thank you.
Number 4, this comment requires that a minimum cartway width
Hold on. Before we move on.
Oh, no, I was just trying to figure out how many feet the mile was.
5,280.
I had the wrong number in my head. We're good.
And just one follow-up, how many fire hydrants would normally be required per 1,200 feet?
Per 1,200 feet, so I think the spacing, it's typically they want them within 600 feet of each other total. So, I mean, in that case, you might need 3 based on their spacing.
Okay,
So in this situation, we are getting 5
Okay.
along that length.
thank you.
Number 4 pertains to, this is specifically for County Line Road along our frontage. Your ordinance requires a minimum cartway width of 52 feet, a 26-foot wide half width. Now, anyone that's familiar with this stretch of County Line Road, it has a shoulder, it's a decent shoulder, but the topography off on both sides of the road does slope off and there's drainage ditches on either side. Again, this is under PennDOT's jurisdiction. We have a PennDOT HOP permit that we're a couple cycles of review so far with them. We are not looking to increase the width of County Line Road just along our frontage. It's just at 500 feet. And that is, we have PennDOT's sign off on that as well too. They're not asking us to increase the length along our frontage. Also,
What is the width of the cartway?
The cartway width along this stretch is approximately 20 feet wide, the lanes. But as you go down here too, one point that I want to make, this is right along here, it starts a guide rail, which then turns into a bridge abutment for the crossing over this stream. So we physically don't have the width to make the lanes any wider along the southern portion of that site. So,
But internally, the width of the private drive is how wide?
our drive coming in is 30 foot wide, which is your ordinance requirement.
Any questions on that? All right, let's move on.
Number 5 is similar, so cartway width and curb and sidewalk. So number 5 pertains to sidewalk and curbing along the property's frontage.
Not internally?
Not internally. Internally, we do have full curb and sidewalk on both sides. This is strictly along County Line Road. County Line Road right now has no curbs, and it has no sidewalks. So again, it's a roadside swale. We're looking to maintain the existing drainage patterns, and we are under PennDOT's review for that driveway addition as well.
But we are offering the fee in lieu of providing those sidewalks along
Yes,
that front.
there will be a fee in lieu of the sidewalks otherwise required along our frontage, which is approximately 500 feet.
Can I-
Bill or Eric? Go ahead.
That's, I was, same thing.
Is there physically no room for sidewalks there? Because we've got a couple of spots where we've got asphalt along there.
And I'm not,
I'm not hugely in favor of sidewalks on County Line Road, but is the biggest issue here the fact that there's no room to put anything?
Especially where that guide rail is and that bridge abutment, yes.
I would be in favor of sidewalks there, just because I know there's other properties that's been a part of their agreement, so eventually there might be more, but if there isn't space for it, it's a moot point, yes?
Yeah, in order to get something along the entire frontage, that bridge would have to be widened. And we know from Horsham Road that that's not a small undertaking.
Yeah, and that's also sort of the idea with I know Bill and Sean were on it when they established the sidewalk fund for a fee in lieu of. So they had to pay that fee in lieu of, and then the idea is that when, in the future, that's a restricted fund that will build over time, and we could, when we have missing links that pop up on us in the future, that fund can connect them.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, number 6 pertains to intersection, basically the slope of a road coming out of an intersection. And this is specifically for our entrance drive. So basically 50 feet beyond the right-of-way, they want it to be at a slope no more than 3%. And that's just to allow vehicles coming in to just traverse that intersection a little easier for sight distance. Based on existing topography, we're actually flattening it out from the existing grade of that driveway now. We're at 3.58% along that stretch, so it's just slightly over. But again, meets PennDOT standards, and it doesn't meet your ordinance requirement of less than 3.
We good with that, Eric?
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Okay, next.
Number 7 pertains to right-of-way street intersections having rounded tangential arcs at the pavement, curb line, and right-of-way. So specifically, your ordinance requires 40-foot radii. That's the curb returns, the flares at the driveway. We're putting in 30, which is the PennDOT requirement for this type of driveway. All vehicles, I've already mentioned, emergency vehicles, trash trucks, everything can traverse them very easily. There's no issue there, but it is less than your ordinance. And also, your ordinance requires that not only the physical curb line have a radius, but the right-of-way itself have a radius to follow that. Based on it is about a 50-foot half-width right-of-way. We're just not putting a radius on the right-of-way. There's no need. We'll never be back that far. So that's a small discrepancy based on your ordinance.
So 2 points to make. They have the boulevard style that he talked about for the fire marshal, A, and B, this is not going to be a road dedicated to the township, correct? So we're okay with it.
Number 8 is the same as 5, again, pertaining to, it's another duplicate ordinance, basically requesting sidewalk along County Line Road, so we did discuss that. Number 9, similar to 8, pertains to County Line Road along every public street or road. Now, again, internally, we have curbs. This is strictly for the public right-of-way along, the public road along County Line Road.
We good, Eric?
Yep. Number 10 and 11, these start getting into more technical with stormwater. So number 10 is the inner berm slopes of all basins. Your ordinance requires a 4-to-1 slope. We're requesting to go down to a 3-to-1 slope, which is typical for basins. It's still mowable and maintainable. And that's strictly because of the topography of the site. We want to have more basin area at the bottom. So you slope down faster, you get a larger basin bottom. So based on the need to preserve the woodlands and the limited area we have for stormwater management that work, we just need that small relief to go to 3-to-1 slopes.
And we have no objection to that.
Number 11 pertains to inlet capacity, and I've actually asked for this on a couple projects. So your ordinance is asking for the maximum, the inlets. So basically our storm design is managing the 100-year storm event, but some of them exceed the quoted capacity for inlets, but we did provide stormwater calculations and storm sewer conveyance calculations to the township engineer, certifying that our storm design does meet the requirement and the hydraulic grade line works as well.
And just, again, this is a private road. This is not a dedicated road, so we're okay with it.
Number 12 is the freeboard requirement of basins. This is a little bit of an outdated ordinance too. As I put in the comment here, 1 foot of freeboard is standard practice now in Pennsylvania and in the PA BMP manual. This was back when you had one regional basin and all the stormwater was really flowing in one regional basin, so you wanted another layer of security here. We have 3 basins. They're sort of scattered throughout the site. So 1 foot of freeboard is provided, and we feel it is a safe design, and we did submit the calculations to prove it works well.
And again, we're okay with that.
All right.
Number 13, this came up as part of Gilmore's last review and as the fire marshal's review. This is just another, I'll call it another duplicate ordinance requiring that land developments and subdivisions have more than 1 point of access from a public street. So as we talked about, this only has 1. We have the boulevard entrance, and fire and emergency vehicles can traverse it without an issue, and we do have the fire marshal's documentation of that as well.
I just have a question on that. So
Yes.
with the proximity of the, I think, Little Neshaminy Creek, is that what that one is?
Yes.
And then the stormwater basin, so you guys, very unlikely that the entrance to the neighborhood will be blocked by any sort of flooding.
Correct. And if you even see the topography of this site, it does slope, everything does slope down to the stream.
Okay.
So this is actually, the topography off the back of these lots is significant enough that you will not have any flooding on that road. It's beyond that, so it's lower.
Can I just get some clarity on the other borders besides the creek, as far as why there couldn't be another point of access?
Sure. Mr. Walker, can you switch to the next one for me, the aerial overlay exhibit? I think it does a little better picture of that. That works, but go one more, the other side of that, the third tab.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that shows our image on top of it. Perfect. So this is the region. This is the obviously the Regency, the Toll Brothers job that's being constructed, or it's at this point is being constructed, and then Park Road. Can you pan down? I can show you how far down Park Road is.
I think they understand the creek side. They're asking about the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, Creekside, yeah, the creek's obviously our barrier there. Connecting any point here through there, it wasn't practical, couldn't be done. And having access through all these private, we're basically constrained on all sides by non-accessible lots to get a right road through. This is almost 1,000 feet of property between our two
Sure.
frontages.
No,
yeah.
not on that side at all. Could it connect to Regency just to have another way? Like, if there was an accident on County Line, something, like just a way to get there. If there was an accident on County Line at that entrance, you're stuck, right? My mic isn't on. You are very mad at me, aren't you? That's my only, County Line in general, there could be an accident there unrelated to it being not a ton more traffic because of those homes. But that could be a problem for those people to get home.
No, and we did consider options. That is not an option for us to connect through there.
There was a discussion very, very, very early in like the sketch plan phase of this on what would be the logistics of connecting into the Regency. And I'm not putting my legal hat on, but I think Mary at the time was like, you'd need every person who already bought a lot there to sign off on that. Yeah, which is just not going to happen. So
that's correct.
The other thing is, unless the accident was right in the roadway, it wouldn't be fun, but you could get all the way around and
Yes.
come in from the other direction.
And that is,
Oh, on county line. Yeah. No, I'm talking about,
I am talking about at the entrance, that there theoretically could be, and again, I guess it's just a nuisance at that point if it's not, a fire emergency, like if it's not bigger than that, but just things to understand.
and again, the boulevard entrance isn't a perfect fix for that, but it does give you a little bit more separation. That if the accident's over on one side, you could close it and send both traffic out the lower side of that. That is sort of the intent there.
The width
but
of it, okay.
Yes, that is the point.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'm on 14. Yep, 14 is what I discussed. So this is the storm sewer easements that I show here. Your ordinance requires 30-foot basin accesses. We're providing a dedicated 20-foot wide width to get back to these basins. They're going to be paved or concrete to allow that, and a truck and maintenance vehicle can go down a 20-foot wide easement without an issue. So we're just asking for a 10-foot reduction. Again, private HOA owns the basins, roads, and all open space.
And also the pipes that are in these easements aren't that deep. So if you had a really deep pipe, you want more room to bench the excavation properly, but we're okay.
All right, and I'll group together 15 through 21, and if we want to discuss them in further detail, we can do so. But basically, there's a number of ordinance sections that have basically overlaying or overlying effects on landscaping. You have softening buffers required around side and rear yards where there's not existing vegetation to supplement that. You also have street tree requirements, which we're complying with. You have individual lot requirements, which we are complying with. And then you have replacement trees. Now, everyone familiar with this site knows it was an existing nursery. There's a lot of woodlands on site, so our replacement tree number is large. To plant them all on the property would not be practical. They would not be viable. Most of them would probably die, and we'd have issues with maintaining them. So what we are asking to do with grouping these together is basically not defer it, but basically say we are going to work with the township engineer and landscape consultant to determine what level can fit on our property when it comes to landscaping, our softening buffers, replacement trees, basin plantings, and whatever that number that fits, we're going to plant. Whatever number doesn't fit is going to be a fee or project or some sort of contribution to the township. But basically, all of these waivers give us the ability to work within those confines, and then obviously we're not skirting the requirement for any type of tree replacement.
Right, and that, just so we're clear, the choice is the township's, not ours. So the township will determine how many trees we can physically accommodate on the site. And then the township will tell us which ones can't, and then they will, of the three discussion points that Mr. Walker mentioned, you guys will tell us. Again, it's unilateral choice, not ours, just so we're clear.
My opinion on this is, as long as we account for each and every planting and tree, we should make a condition that says, subject to township staff's approval. That way, it's accounted for, they're agreeing to do it that way, and it's resolved.
And we keep saying large number of trees. What is the number?
834 is, of just replacement trees, is 834. That does not take into account, and the landscaping, the reason why it's hard to come to a number is because existing vegetation, your softening buffer requirement is based on linear footage, so we need to have that determination of where it stops and starts. But 834 is the replacement tree number that needs to be replanted on the site.
Not that big.
It's up there.
All right, so that's all the waivers.
That's it. Yep.
What else do we need to do on this one? Bill?
Well, if that's everything and that's all the questions and the waivers you just went through, Dave would draw up a draft resolution for your consideration on July 9th.
Got it. Got my homework. Your will complies on everything, right?
That's it.
All right. Thank
So
you.
everybody's good with that?
yes.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. I mean, Ed. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
All right.
Now that'll
Next,
be a joke.
next we need to consider the results of our line painting bids. Bill?
All right, so as you know, we had to table our line painting bid in May, so we re-advertised, and we got two. As you know, in May, we only got one. So we had two line painting companies bid. A1 Traffic Control was $63,409. Zone Striping Incorporated was $92,117.28. The staff recommendation for your consideration this evening is A1 Traffic Control.
I move to award the line painting bid to A1 Traffic Control Products, LLC, in the amount of $63,409, and hereby authorize execution of the contract for seam.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, next will be to authorize the solicitation of bids for pedestrian lamps on Drescher Road between Whitmer and Walnut Grove Drive. Bill?
So this is a project, economic development project, thus Larry Burns in the audience. The project that Larry's working on that you approved in the 2025 budget is to continue our pedestrian lamps down Drescher Road. As you know, we have them from New Road to Whitmer Road. So this continuation will be from Whitmer Road to Walnut Grove Drive. And we had to go out to bid for the project. Bless you.
I move to authorize the solicitation of the bids for the pedestrian lamps on Drescher Road between Whitmer Road and Walnut Grove Drive, and further authorize advertisement of same.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Next, we have to consider a resolution establishing a time and a place for a public hearing on the Toll Mid-Atlantic LP 1336 Lime Kiln Pike conditional use application 25-08-CU for Wednesday, August the 13th, 2025 at 7:45 p.m. in the Horsham Township Municipal Building at 1025 Horsham Road. Bill?
So just real quick, this is a conditional use application that we see from Toll Brothers. As you know, they have the Worth property on Limekill Pike, and they're moving through the land development approval process. They also need conditional use approval for some water lines, sewer lines, and a recreational trail that have to go through through the repairing corridor. So that's what the application and hearing would be for August 13th.
We have a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution as proposed, establishing a time and a place for a public hearing on the Toll Mid-Atlantic LP 1336 Lime Kiln Pike conditional use application for Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 at 7:45 p.m. in the Horsham Township Municipal Building, 1025 Horsham Road.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. This is roll call vote.
Mr. Glenster, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Laff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Wade, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Chunky, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And before we adjourn, I need to announce that our next Horsham Township Council meeting will be Wednesday, July the 9th at 8 p.m. in this auditorium. We also should mark our calendars for National Night Out on Tuesday, August the 5th from 6 to 9 at the Horsham Township Municipal Complex. And there being no further business, meeting adjourned.